to take a little bit of a deeper dive into all the different ways that we apply step 3, or how we might vary using the 5 steps of EAM. There are so many, so many ways to use EAM in every single area of your life. And a lot of it, well, not a lot of it, we cover some of it in the book. We introduce you to some of it inside the book. Those of you that are doing the workshops and joining us in this journey, you will definitely uncover a lot more. And there will still be more and more and more that unfolds beyond that. And the reason that I say that is because I want you to have the skills and the confidence to be able to apply EAM to whatever is coming up for you. The list of things that cause these imprints, the things that have happened to all of us, the things that have happened in our past, the things that are happening in our present, the experiences that we've all been through are all completely different. And so there's no way that I could create a library big enough of this is how you do it for this, and this is how you do it for this, and this is how you do it for this, if this was this thing, because it would just become, it would too vast and too complicated. So what we do is teach you, first of all, the basic skills of using EAM, which we're going to touch on today. But beyond that, which is what we do in the workshops and what we do in the live events, and that's what you get from working with a mentor as well, are all the nuances and the different ways that you can start to apply it based on what's coming up for you. That said, there are so many things that almost everybody's been through or has some stuckness or limitations caused by those. So those are the things that we focus on in the programs to give you deeper insight into how you apply these basic steps of EAM in that subject, because sometimes it takes, first of all, an awareness that that subject even exists, or, oh my God, is that even a thing? Or, oh, I'd never thought of looking there for discovering where my problems were, or where my issues are, or where my challenges came from. But then how do I apply EAM in that context? And that's what the rest of the journeys are all about, are the different ways of putting it into practice. And I have to be honest, even over the last 6 years using EAM, teaching EAM, I have learned so much in terms of the way that energy shows up, or where people's limitations might come from, or other things that you'd never thought about asking that come up in terms of the different types of questions that you can ask to explore where these things come from. And the reason I say that to you is because it's always unfolding. We're working with energy, and we are trying, or we are giving language to something that's really quite intangible. We can't see a lot of what's going on. And so, as human beings, as with everything in life, when we're trying to describe the meaning of life, we're doing the best we can with what we know, and it seems to work, but we don't have the full picture. Nobody does, and nobody ever will. Maybe we do when we're not in this life experience anymore. But for now, let's have a look at the different ways that we can apply the 5 steps. So step 3, the first one that we teach you as the way to apply step 3 is what happens in your energy. You all hopefully have experienced this. It's the one that I always teach people first, because usually we have some kind of physiological response to what we're experiencing. And the reason I start with this is because very often people have become so disconnected from what they are feeling, or they have become so used to feeling a particular way that we've stopped noticing the changes of what's happening within our energy field. The feelings that you get in relation to a particular subject is your body's energy system trying to tell you hello, there's this big thing over here that we really need to deal with. That heaviness on your heart is your subconscious pointing you in the right direction. There's something going on in your heart. It's like, hello, over here, there's this thing we need to take a look at. So the reason we really want, one of the reasons we start with this is because I want you to become more self-aware. So often we've disconnected from our feelings, or we just simply don't know what they are. So now I want you to make sure that you do know what they are. So if you remember back to when we were talking about our powerful aura or our energy field, everything that's ever happened to you is recorded in your energy field. It's a recording device, and it's constantly changing. It's opening, expanding, it's closing down. It's, it's getting taller, it's getting wider, depending on what you're feeling. And it's actually kind of like a symbiotic approach. It's not you feel something and your energy field changes. It's more your energy field changes, and that's what you experience as a feeling or an emotion. So the two things work together. It's reconfiguring itself all the time with whatever you think, whatever you say, whoever you're around, whatever you're doing in that moment, your energy field is changing, but your energy field changes because of what it is and what your feeling is, all of that. So the two things come together. So when you feel that heaviness in your heart, I'm just using that as an example. When you feel that tightness in your throat, when you feel that heaviness on your shoulders, when you feel that, oh my God, I've got no energy, it's because something has changed in your energy field, and that's the expression of it. So it could be that your throat chakra has closed down. Perhaps somebody has said to you in the past, like when you were tiny, shut up and sit down. Nobody cares what you've got to say. I'm going to delete because I don't want anyone to take that on board. But to a small 5 or 6 or 7-year-old child, bang, all of a sudden an energy reversal or a belief is installed that is true. You don't remember it because it was one passing comment in one moment, but the rest of your life you stay quiet because you've taken on that belief that nobody cares and you have nothing valuable to contribute to the situation. And now that's stuck in your throat chakra. So every time you go to speak, every time you want to speak up for yourself, it's like, or you end up with a sore throat, or whatever it's showing up as, it feels like this stuckness or limitation. So these clues, I want you to think about what's going on in your energy in two ways. One, have the awareness that it's the stuckness, that's all it is. It's the reversal, the resistance, it's the imprint showing up and showing you where you can explore it. But also, it may give you some clues as to how that energy reversal or how that imprint or how that resistance has affected you. So, for example, if you are thinking about a situation and all of a sudden you feel like this real heavy black darkness below your belly button, what part of the body is that? In terms of energy system, feel free to pop it in the chat. Head, heart, and hara. Thank you, Tony. I can read you hara. So now you're like, okay, so this is where it's showing up. So now I know what I know about my hara. That might now fire off a few other questions. Okay, so is this affecting my ability to attract things into my life? Ask your sway. Yes. Okay. When did this begin? Age 7. Okay. So just pay attention to where you're feeling the things, because they can also give you clues as to other questions to ask. If I'm feeling it in my throat, oh, okay. Is this stopping me speaking my truth? Yes. Is it stopping me speaking up for myself? Yes. Is it stopping me communicating with love? Yes. Okay. I've got 3 or 4 things there that I can go and work on, all because you've identified where this resistance was showing up. Make sense? Okay, so the location gives you information. Hey, I should put that on a meme. The location gives you information, but use it to unpack and unfold. You don't have to spend hours and hours exploring it, but just the simple knowledge of what each of the chakras do, or the simple knowledge of where it's showing up. There's a whole bunch of stuff which I really want to do around the metaphysics of your health and your energy field. So particularly pay attention to this when you notice the same thing applies when you've got physical health conditions. So if you have pain in your leg, for example, it's a sign that you're stuck and not wanting to move forward. If you've got pain in your back, it's about not being supported. If you've got pain in your hands, it's about things that you're doing that you don't want to do, or you're being stopped from doing. So, I mean, it's more than I can teach you today, but the different parts of your body are all manifestations of your subconscious, and they all manage or take care of particular aspects of your life. So this same concept that I'm sharing with you applies to the physical health conditions you get to. If someone's got a problem with their lungs, we would recognize that as grief. So then you would start asking questions around grief and loss. If someone's got a problem with their heart, it's usually around relationships or disconnecting or feeling like their heart's been broken. If someone's got a problem with their bowel, it's usually because they have problems with processing or they don't want to let go of things. So your body is an incredible manifestation of what's going on in your subconscious. And it doesn't only apply to what we're doing here with the EAM of where it's showing up in your energy. Any pain, any symptoms, any illnesses also tell you what's going on in your energy field. So you can apply those same concepts there. So what we're really feeling are these, if you could see them, and I am going to do these videos just to bring it to life a little bit more visually for you very soon, are these imprints. When you think about a particular situation, if you could see what was going off in your energy field, I always describe it as like this firework. There's like a ball above your heart. So say you're thinking about a past relationship and you're angry and you're frustrated and you feel disempowered. You've got this heaviness on your heart, which is sat there in your energy field. It's not in your body, but it's in the etheric level. It's really close. You've also got this thing going on outside your sacral chakra. If you can see that ball on the screen just below her belly button. So now there's this thing in your heart and there's this thing in your hara. And now there's also this thing in your base chakra whenever you think about it. So you've shut your heart down, you've disconnected yourself from your desire in your sacral chakra, and now it's completely rocked your foundations. You don't feel sure of yourself, you feel fearful of whatever it is. Now, taking that out to the next layer, emotionally, now your heart's still closed down and you're keeping people away at a distance. Next layer out, mentally, you've got some beliefs now around the relationship or around relationships, and you see everybody and everything in that relationship through those eyes of what's happened to you because of what's in your energy field. And then further out towards the front of you, you've also got, as you can see on this visual, it's now out there in your astral level, and you're projecting this ball, if you could see it, of energy that all relationships are bad, that everybody that ever comes anywhere near you is going to treat you in exactly the same way. And this is your expectation of relationships now. So this is like your relationships configuration. Now, of course, you can apply that to any situation that you want, but this is what you feel in your energy system when we use this process. This is, if you could see it, this is kind of what's going on. So what we're doing with EAM, when we actually go through and create the steps or do the steps and create these shifts, you're removing or deleting these imprints from your energy field. Now, often you might obliterate all of them and get rid of all of them all at once. But sometimes, if it's a big subject like relationships, each one of those things might need to be explored, or there might be 2 or 3 of them that are the catalyst. And actually, if you find those core 2 or 3, the rest of the things disappear. So when it feels like a situation's coming up in your life again, and you're like, I've done EAM on this, why is it still there? It's probably that you've removed one of those balls and 2 or 3 of the other things connected to it, but you didn't know or didn't see that it was also connected to ball number 2 and imprint number 3 and imprint number 5. And that's usually because they've been there so long, it's just how we see life. And you don't know anything else yet. So your work is to explore what these things are. And again, this is without digging as much as possible. I would love, when we say in all forms, on all levels, at all points in time, I would love for that to delete all of these balls around that subject, or these imprints around that subject. But sometimes the question that we've asked or the work that we've done hasn't been quite specific enough to work on that second ball, because actually, if you could see it in another star-shaped configuration, that second ball is also attached to feeling like you weren't good enough from your parents, and feeling like you weren't good enough as a child, and connected. So it's like it's getting energy or power from other places as well. I can see Viola nodding her head. So it's not that you've not done the work on it, it's just that you've disconnected it from that one thing, but it's all this weird, mad, crazy matrix of energy. I get really excited by stuff like this because I'm quite practical. I'm like, okay, it's a ball, it's a thing. I can get rid of that. I can delete that. I can remove that. So step 3, working with our energy field. Just as a quick aha, is this helpful? Ivana says that yes, good. This is what we're doing. We're simply clearing the energy system all the time. That is what we're working through. So step 3, what's happening in my energy is this. And this is how we apply the 5. Oh, I've put the wrong one. Ignore that it says numbers on the left. Sorry, that was me copying the slide late last night. I changed the wrong heading, but the information on the other side is right. So does it make, step 1, we would think about the subject that you want to do the work on, or that person or that situation, and you feel it in your energy and you're like, oh, okay, I've got all this stuff coming up. So step 1, you would ask your sway, does it make me feel, and then describe what you're feeling, this sick and heavy feeling in my heart when I think of whatever. So step 1, we're just asking our energy system to confirm that this icky feeling is related to that subject. So, or you could ask, is this heavy, sicky feeling related to blah, 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 what that person said, or whatever, if you know what it is. Step 2, your body's going to give you a response, yes or no. So you might go back and change that question. Is it related to this? If it gives you a no, or is it affecting me somewhere else? Once you've got a yes, then you're like clarifying, what does it feel like? Okay, so just pay attention. Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it still? Is it moving? Is it the size of a tennis ball? Is it the size of a golf ball? Is it the size of a football? Is it, if you can see when you close your eyes, is there any color there? And again, sometimes the colors give us clues, and that's a whole other conversation, but sometimes the colors give us clues about what's going on. And like I said, the location tells us a lot as well. Okay, so you might ask a few further questions. If you're not clear, you can ask your sway at this point. So is it in my back? Yes or no? Is it also that feeling I've got in my legs that I've just become aware of? Yes. Okay, so this thing has created a thing in my throat, a thing in my heart, and a thing in my legs. Yes. Okay, so now you know you've got 3 things to work on, but you might be able to include all 3 of those in this step 4 statement. So step 4, I'm ready to release this heaviness in my heart, ickiness in my legs, and feeling in my feet when I think about whatever that situation is. I release this from my energy in all forms and all levels at all points in time. So what we're doing now is deleting and clearing all of that stuff from our energy field. So step 5, you can also use this same process of what's happening in my energy. You can also use this for your step 5s. When we did that juicy step 5 a little moment ago, you can do the reverse. So now you've cleared all of that stuff from your energy field. How do you want to feel when you think about that thing or think about that person? Do you want to feel icky and blah? Or do you want to feel loving and open and expanded? Or do you want to feel strong and confident and standing in your power? And what does that feel like? Like, do you stand up taller? Are you able to take a deeper breath now you've cleared that stuff from your chest? Do you feel more open? Do you feel more expanded? Do you feel more grounded? Can you feel a strength coming up from inside your legs where they don't feel wobbly and shaky anymore when you think about it? Now ground in some tree roots. Okay, I'm ready to allow myself to feel this strong, confident, grounded power that pulls up through my body and allows my heart and energy to expand. I allow my throat to open, to communicate clearly. I allow all of this into my energy. I love this big, beautiful white light that's inside of me. Whatever that is, you can use the what's happening in my energy in your step 5 statements too. So bring it back in and create a feeling that serves and supports you, that empowers you. And you can use that feeling consistently. If you want to create, you know, this is my strength and power. This is what strength and power feels like. It's bright white, it's bright yellow, it's green, it fills me. And you can send it out to let it fill the whole of your aura. And you can consciously send it out to fill the whole of your room. If you want to send out love into the universe, you can send that wave of light and love out consciously as well. So the what happens in my energy is used both ways. Not only what's going on, but you can now create something and create a new open, expansive imprint with it too. Any questions about you want to pop on in the chat? No, very clear, says Viola. Hara, base chakra. No, very clear. Cool. Good. Everyone happy and confident in using this process? Do we need to, just so I can see you, is everyone happy to, you all understand how to use EAM in this way? Okay, good. Simplest way, easiest place to begin. Hold on. Karen says clear. But I'm ready to learn more. Yes, there will be lots more for you all to learn. That, like I said, today is the foundational building block. So I just want you to have this framework to glue everything else onto. There will be lots more to learn, don't you worry. We've got loads more to share with you. Okay. So the next way that we apply the 5 steps is actually how to use EAM with numbers. Now, the reason that we use the numbers process is because not everything that we need to do the work on, we feel. So we spent a lot of time in that last section talking about how it shows up in your energy. And when you think about that thing, you're really feeling it. But sometimes there are things going on in our energy that we don't feel. Usually the things that we feel are obviously things that have manifested. They've been there so long that they've now manifested as a physical symptom, or something that's usually quite emotional. And because the emotional level of our aura is a lot closer to us, we feel what's going on there a lot more easily because it's a slower, lower, heavier vibration. But the further out in our energy field, if you remember the graphic I showed you before, our energy field goes our physical body, our etheric energy body, our emotional energy body, and then we're into the mental energy body, which is further away from the body, from our physical body, so we don't feel things. And then we've got the astral, celestial, and divine levels of our aura. Now, when the further away they get, the higher frequency they are. So it's harder for our physical body to feel it. So numbers are really useful to use in a number of ways. When you're working on something that you're not feeling, so usually you would apply this numbers process to things like thoughts, beliefs, patterns. You would also use it when you're trying to explore, as we'll do in clarifying questions in a moment, how old you were when something came, when something began. You would also use it to perhaps find out, it's like any number of something, basically, how old you were, what age you were, how many people were involved in whatever it is. So you can use your sway to ask the more than or less than kind of question. So numbers you would use, like I said, for belief. So you might ask, how many times, hold on, I'll come back to see you. How many times have I repeated that situation in my life? So you could ask your sway. So I'm just putting myself in camera just so you can see. So I should have put this up on the screen. Does everyone not understand what I mean by more than or less than? So you can ask your sway, is it more than this number or less than this number? So I might say, how many, do I have a belief that I'm going to ask this now. Do I have a belief that I'm not good enough? Okay, no. Okay, do I have some self-sabotaging patterns? There you go, yes. Okay, do I have more than 1? Do I have more than 10? Okay, no. So I got a yes forward, and do I have more than 10 is a no backwards. So I now know that somewhere between 1 and 10 are the number of self-sabotaging patterns I need to find. So do I have more than 5? No. I have more than 4. Okay. Is it 5? No. Is it 4? Okay, so I've got 4 that I need to find. So my yes and my no will help me get clarity. So when we're working on, like I said, the number of repetitions, how many times have I done something? Because each one of those situations will have been recorded somewhere in your energy field. So sometimes you can use numbers like for repetitions. You can also use it for thoughts and beliefs. How many times have I thought that thought? How many times, if you're holding a belief of I'm not good enough, you haven't just thought that thought once. You have thought that thought many, many times, and each and every one of them is recorded somewhere in your energy field. Beliefs, patterns. So like I just asked with self-sabotaging patterns, and we're going to do a lot of work on this in this first weekend. And there are so many patterns that we have, not just self-sabotage patterns. There are lots of patterns that we have, but how many times have I repeated that pattern? So you can use it to find out things like that. I'm just trying to think of any other examples where we'd use it for numbers. Emotions. So we're going to talk about emotions in a moment as well, but how many times have you experienced the emotion of fear? How many times have you experienced the emotion of anger? Because you're carrying all of those in your energy. So the thing that I love about numbers is it's actually very definitive. So numbers are also a very good way for to use EAM for people who are very logical, like they're in their head a lot. Also when people have disconnected, and this is one of the first things that we would look at with people if we're working with them. When you're doing this way and people are like, I don't feel anything, I'm not feeling anything. When I think about that, I'm not feeling anything. I've got no feelings around that. Nothing's coming up in my energy. Don't feel anything, don't feel anything, don't feel anything. So we'll be talking about that in the next one, because usually what that means is actually we've disconnected, and we've disconnected. We're stuck in our head because we've disconnected from our heart and our hara. And it's safer up here than going anywhere down here, because this is all feely stuff and I don't like the feely stuff. So I've disconnected from all my feely stuff. So I'm just going to be in my head and I'm going to ask loads of questions. I'm going to try and analyze absolutely everything and try and figure it out up here. And the reason we can't figure it out up here is because the rest of the information is down there. So Very often people are stuck in their head. That doesn't mean that everybody who's stuck in their head is disconnected from their emotions, but it's a great way to get started in creating the shifts in someone's energy field when they are in that space. So if you ever find yourself like, I'm really not feeling anything, how many of something do I have? So the way that you would then apply the 5 steps, really simply. Step 1, for example, do I have a belief that, whatever it is, do I hold a belief that I'm not good enough? Yes or no? So you know that you're working on the right subject. How many times have I repeated that? Or how many of those do I hold? Do I have more than 10? And your sway would give you a yes. Okay. Do I have more than 100? Yes. Do I have more than 1,000? Yes. Do I have more than 10,000? Yes. Do I have more than 100,000? Yes. Oh my God. Do I have more than 1 million? Yes. More than 10 million? Yes. Okay. More than 100 million? No. Okay. So somewhere between 10 million and 100 million, and you go halfway. Is it more than 50 million? No. Is it more than 40 million? No. More than 30 million? No. More than 20 million? No. More than 15 million? Yes. Okay. So now I'm somewhere between 15 million and 20 million. And you keep just going halfway. You do not need to get the exact number. Sometimes you do, but very often you don't. So just give yourself a nice ballpark figure. I've got 15 million beliefs of I'm not good enough. And then you move on to step 4. I'm ready to release these 15 million, whatever it is, beliefs, repetitions, imprints, emotions of whatever the thing is that you're working with. I release this from my energy in all forms, on all levels, and at all points in time. Then with step 5, you can create whatever you want to put in. Here with step 5, there isn't really a way of using step 5 for numbers. I guess you could replace your 15 million beliefs of not good enoughness with 15 million imprints of being powerful. And I've not done that as a step 5. I might have to give that one a go. But you can program anything, reprogram anything into your energy. So choose what you would like it to be. Imagine what that would feel like. Actually, I'm going to give that a go. 15 million beliefs of I am freaking awesome. Yeah, I'll take that. Thanks very much. Okay. So that's how we use the 5 steps with numbers, just as an indicator so that I can see, is everybody clear how we work on the numbers process? Has anybody got any questions around that? All good? Good, good, good. Okay. Now, emotions. This is one that some of you might not have seen yet, but this is a really, 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 really big part of using EAM. And working with your emotions. If you remember in the last class, we talked about the universe really responds. It responds to everything, but the universe really responds to these 5 areas of anything that you want to manifest. 1, your vision. Are you clear what you want to create? 2, your energy, meaning your vibration, how high or low your vibration is, your thoughts, your emotions, and your aligned action. All of them are important in varying degrees, but when you put all of them together, it creates change and transformation in ways that you often won't believe are possible until you experience it. So our emotions are a massive part of the process, and our emotions are an indicator. Your emotions are an expression of what's happening in your energy. So when you are feeling emotions such as fear, it tells you there's stuff going on in your energy field that we need to do some work on. And it's bringing up some things from your past. It's bringing up some things that are imprinted in your energy, that this isn't safe, that this isn't good, that we need to run away, that you need to close down, that you need to protect yourself from this. And what I want you to see here, so hold on one second. This is our EAM emotional scale. Now, it's originally based on Dr. David Hawkins' emotional scale vibrational chart. He has it laid out in a very different way. And of course, this doesn't cover every single emotion. There are some really beautiful things called emotion wheels, which actually I am going to introduce to all of you, but this is a really great place to begin. What I want you to understand from this emotional scale is that all energy has its own vibration. The emotions of fear and powerlessness, which you'll see at the very bottom of the chart, the emotions of fear and powerlessness are our lowest, slowest vibration of energy. So if you could see the amount of energy, if you take this back to the class we did the other day, where we talked about the vibration, high frequency, low frequency, and the amplitude, how quickly energy moves. When we're in fear, and proper fear, and I mean true rabbit in a headlights or deer in a headlights type of fear, it's paralyzing. Literally, it stops you in your tracks. That's why the rabbit or the deer literally stand still. They're in fear. True fear stops you. So if you're to think about this, if you look up the right-hand side, the emotions down the very bottom are usually significant energy reversals. Not all the time, but usually. Energetically, they're in that reversed energy state. They literally drag you back. They literally keep you stuck. There is very little or no forward movement towards what you want. Then as you start moving up, so you've got fear and powerlessness at the bottom, then guilt and depression, hatred and anger. If you can get yourself from fear and powerlessness into a feeling of hatred and anger, I'll be really happy for you, because it means that vibrationally you've shifted a little bit further up the scale, and there's more movement, there's more energy, there's more passion in hatred and anger than there is in fear and powerlessness. Doesn't mean I want you to stay there, but it's definitely a shift from the bottom of the scale. Jealousy and greed, blame and worry, boredom and overwhelm. So if you just even think about each of those emotions, can you feel how they get a little bit lighter as we go further up? I know boredom's a bit like, I'm a bit bored. I've got there's not a lot of energy, and overwhelm isn't massively stressful, although it can be. But there's not a lot of energy in those emotions the further or closer you get to this midline. So if you can see this line that runs across the middle, that we've got this neutral or nothing. It's not that there's no energy, there's just not as much energy as there is held in fear and powerlessness at the bottom. So as we come towards the middle, it's like meh, they're a bit like meh emotions. There's not a lot of energy to move and create change. That's what I want you to think about. It's not particularly polarizing. It doesn't sit in one end or the other. Then as we cross the line, the further up we go, we move into the emotions of content, hope and strength, confidence, optimism, happiness, passion, eager, excited, empowerment, abundance, love, joy, and freedom. So what we want to be doing is shifting our emotions consciously around particular subjects from these emotions down the bottom, fear and powerlessness and depression and anger. If we're feeling anything below this line, you cannot manifest, or you will manifest, but you'll manifest more of this. You will not manifest the things that you want to experience in a way that you want to experience them. So on any subject that you're facing in life, you can use this emotional scale to check in and find what emotions you're actually experiencing. So as you can see towards the top, with these emotions in the middle, from like anger and all the way up to strength, there's a little bit of resistance in them, even in hope. In hope, if you think about, I hope that it will get better, even in the word hope, there's a little bit of doubt that it will. So there's a little bit of resistance, even in that word. It's better than being in depression or jealousy, but hope isn't the same as knowing. Hope isn't the same as being empowered. Like I know that it's coming. So all of them are a journey. I don't expect you to leap it necessarily overnight. But you can use this in terms of EAM at step 3 to get clarity on what emotions you are actually experiencing. Now, the reason I say this is because sometimes our emotions can be so messy in terms of how we feel that we're not actually clear what it is that we're feeling. We might think that we're feeling angry. And if we used EAM on just, I'm ready to release this feeling of anger, without checking that it's actually anger, what we really might be working on is, I actually feel disempowered, or actually I feel jealous. So you're not going to create the shift because you're not actually working on what the thing is. So you can use the sway at step 3 to ask, and you might have more than one emotion going on. Do I feel fearful when I think about this thing? No. Do I feel angry when I think about whatever it is? Do I feel overwhelmed when I think about this thing? Okay. So I'm feeling overwhelmed. Yes. Okay. So now, there are all sorts of ways you can explore this. What does that overwhelming feeling feel like? You might have that feeling going on in your energy, or perhaps you're not feeling anything, and you can use the numbers process. How many times have I felt overwhelmed? So this is one of the things I think we do. Yeah, you're going to be doing on this weekend on the Your Soul workshop. Think how many times in your life you have felt overwhelmed. Anyone felt overwhelmed more than once? More than 10 times? Charlotte's like, no, I'm super chilled. Don't get any of that. None of that. All of them are recorded in your energy field. So one of the first things that we want you to do is a damn good spring clean to release all of the back catalogue of that emotion that's held in your energy field. All of a sudden you start to open up. Does it mean that we're going to clear everything out? No, because there might be other things. And the reason how do I describe this? What we want to do is clear the general stuff that's just kind of sat around, that's in the cupboard, and shift your vibration, because what that does is changes what we call your emotional set point. So this is exactly what we do in that journey, Fear to Love, and the very first program that we ever shared, and it's available in your library as well. And it's a brilliant place for people to start, because there's no point when someone's truly in fear and truly in disempowerment. There is absolutely no point in me talking to people about love and passion and your future and feeling empowered, because they feel a million miles away from that. So the first thing that we need to do is shift that consistent emotional state from a place of fear and powerlessness into at least confidence, at least strength, at least empowerment, for us to then start actually creating the changes in your journey, because you're open to it there. Does that make sense? So it's a really wonderful place to begin, and it's a great way that you can apply the 5 steps, and it will also bring clarity to what's actually going on in your energy by naming the emotions, and then you can go in and work on each one. So when we do the bubble method, you've got the bubble method training day in there. I will touch on the bubble method tomorrow for you, for those of you that aren't familiar with it. But working on your emotions is one really clear, very simple way that you can use it. Everybody clear how we would use the emotional scale? Yeah, who's used it? Just Emma Jane says, so you can work, I can see some hands go up there, thank you. So you can work through the scale and work on just the emotions rather than events. Yes, that's one way to do it. And I would invite you to have your emotional scale. So we're going to do that exercise this weekend, the clearing your energy system. We'll be doing that in the Your Soul workshop. But you can use the emotional scale around anything, because often we think that we have a particular emotion. We might think that we feel angry, but actually when you ask your sway, you're disempowered, or you're jealous, or you're pissed off. Like, you can stick any emotion in there that you like. It's about getting clarity on what you're releasing so that you're releasing the right thing. So it's there as a tool to use on any situation because we want to change how we feel about it. And then with step 5, so step 1, you would ask, oh, I've got it on a slide for you actually. Step 1, you would ask, do I feel whatever that emotion is? Hold on, no, Viola, I'll come to your question in a minute, darling. Do I feel fear when I think about blah? Yes or no? So you might, and it's like, yes, you do. So you could go through and you could ask all the way up the scale. You know, do I feel fear? Yes. Do I feel powerless? No. Do I feel angry when I think about this? Yes. Okay, so I've got anger and I've got fear. Do I feel jealous? No. Do I feel bored? No. Do I feel overwhelmed by this? Yes. So you might have fear, anger, and overwhelm, which if you hadn't gone through and defined all of those, you would have just individually, you would have just cleared the fear because that's what you could feel. You think it's fear, excuse me, you think it's fear. So by going through and getting the clarity, now you go in and work on all of them instead of just what you think it is. So checking in with your sway, is this what I've got going on? That's what we're doing. Is this what I've got going on? Yes, it is. Great. Now I can go in and shift it. So step 3, how many of them do you have either around that subject or whatever it is you're working on, or what does it feel like? Because as soon as you tune into the fear, you might notice something come up in your energy. So I'm ready to release these 757,000 feelings of fear when I think about stepping into living my life purpose. I release this from my energy in all forms and all levels at all points in time. And then step 5, you can use, again, when we talked about doing our juicy step 5s, we want to tune into what does it feel like? What does that feeling of freedom? You can step 5 in those high vibrations. That's something to include in every step 5 that you do. I'm ready to allow myself to feel more love, to feel more freedom, to feel more joy, to feel like step 5. If you're ever lost what to do, step 5 in love. Like who doesn't want more love? Who doesn't want more freedom? You can never be lost on what to ask for. Because we want to shift ourselves into that new paradigm, into that place on every subject. That's really what we're doing, or as many subjects as possible. So questions, because that's what we're here for. Oh, that is a long question. Hold on. Who's that? Viola. Yesterday you told me that when you were in flow, you also experience lows, although they are less intense, because it's always in motion. And that a flow period is okay, and that a low flow period is okay, and you will reach a much higher vibration. I often hear people say that you have to give all the feelings space, that it's all okay and it's part of life, even the yucky feelings, that you've just gone through it and it wants to tell you something, and it becomes less when you give it attention and investigate what it wants to tell you. How is that according to EAM principles? Do you allow for a low moment? And if so, what does that look like? Yes. No, I get it. This is one of the things that frustrates, and maybe I need to do work on it. It's not frustration. What we were talking about the other day is to recognize that the highs and the lows are both part of the same journey. What I agree with in many ways that many people talk about is there's nothing wrong with feeling low, like, and that's the point. We all feel it. And I think so many people try to be like, everything is happy and glorious in my life, I'm never feeling bad. When truthfully, everybody has highs and lows. There isn't a single person on the planet who doesn't. For me, the important piece is how you are when you're in that low. If you're in that low with conscious awareness that I'm in a low and the emotions that are coming up are not who I am, they don't justify me, they don't name me, they don't label me, they don't make me who I am, it's just where I am right now. And you have that level of self-awareness when you're in there to know that they're coming up because there is work for you to do. The low periods are there to shine a light on this is stuff you still got to work on. So what are you angry about? What are you pissed off about? What are you frustrated about? Why do you want to punch that person in the face because they've said the wrong thing to you today? What's that about? What's that about? Because that's the self-reflection piece. The thing that you guys have, which I think is a gift, is that you've now got EAM to help you work through that stuff. The reason lots of other people or practices say, just sit with it, like just allow it, is because they don't necessarily have a tool to shift it. Why would you choose to sit in misery? Because it's affecting, remember those 3 journeys, it's affecting your flow state now. So it's more about not labeling it as wrong, but when you've got a way of getting out of it, why would you choose to sit in it? Once you've got the conscious awareness of what it is, where it came from, allowing it to come up, let the tears out, have your bloody temper tantrum, scream and cry and kick and do all of those things, and know that it's just energy releasing. Now I'm ready to pick myself up and get back on my horse and carry on with where I'm at. So the bit that I wouldn't even say disagree with, I just think, why would you choose to sit in misery? And the flip side of that is sometimes people will choose to sit in misery because they can then use that as their excuse not to move forward. Does that make sense? So that's where I get a little bit like ass kicky, because there's no reason to. And that's not to say, you know, if you've been through something traumatic, if you've been through a loss or a grief or like stress, it's in no way to disregard what we feel. But we've all got the conscious awareness that it is just an energy. It is just energy. And actually that's really empowering. So yes, I can choose to sit in this for a couple of days or maybe a week or just honor where I'm at, but do the work on what's coming up while you're in there. No one's expecting you to pop back out, you know, tomorrow, but just honor yourself enough to do the work whilst it's there. I think that would be my piece. And don't allow yourself to lull there for weeks and weeks and months and use that as the reason why you're stuck, because that's affecting everything that's happening in your life now. And that low vibrational energy is creating your future. So the longer you stay here, not only do you lose that time that you're in it, I say lose that time, it's the wrong thing, but not only are you in it for that period of time, but the energy that you've been projecting forward to your future has also been that low vibrational energy, because you haven't been creating from a high vibrational space. So you're actually just extending the period of time that you're going to be in it, because you haven't been in that high vibe space, creating high vibe future as well. We've spent long enough in the low vibe place. time for us to be in the expansion. Did that answer your question, lovely? I can see you. Did that help? Alexandra says, I'm going to have to release sadness, but I have to go now. You can catch up on the replay. Can you release more than one emotion at a time? Yes, you can. If you've got more than one, I'd go through and sway, like, how many feelings of fear have I got? 757. How many feelings of anger have I got? 279. And you can just, I'm ready to release all of these feelings of anger, fear, and frustration around blah. I'm all about speed. So if you can get it done in and clear them all in 3 rounds, but make sure you go and check each one of them is back down to 0, if that's how you're going to do it. It's okay to feel the feelings, just to become the feeling. Yeah, but just let them, recognize them and just let them move. You can let them move through you by EAMing them. They come up. The emotions come up because they want to show you there is something for you to work on. That's why they're there. So it's I think the important distinction is not to stick a lid on it and push it back down and put the fake happy smiley face on. Everything's fine. Like, I'm good. Everything in my life is amazing. when it's not, because you've not dealt with that thing. And that I do think that is, I do also think that's a big challenge very often. Who knows that they've done that? How are you? I'm fine. Hanging on to the edge of the table. I'm fine. Yeah, everything's great. I'm falling apart inside. My life feels like shit. And I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And actually, I've just spent the whole morning in bed crying. But I'm fine. You know. The scale to print will be available. It's in your workbook on Saturday, and we can probably, if I ask Claire very nicely to remind me, update it under this video. Call that my smile on a stick, says Tony. Again, just that one that you pop in front of your face. Okay, last one for today is clarifying questions. So one of the ways that you can use step 3 is also to, again, if this is something that you're like, I'm not feeling it, it's not a numbers thing, but there's something here that I need to unpack and explore. Usually, where did something begin? So lots of the exercises that we'll be sharing with you throughout the rest of the journey are giving you other clarifying questions that you can ask your subconscious about that particular subject. A very powerful way to start when you're working on anything that isn't something that you're feeling in your energy, it isn't a thought or belief or something that you can give numbers to, and it isn't an emotion, but you know that something has, impacted you or impacted your energy. You can use your sway to understand and explore where and how it began is one way. And we will speak to this again in the next session when we work on energy reversals, because these are some of the first questions that we'll start to ask. But this applies to everything. So one of the first questions you can ask is, okay, so I've got this belief of I'm not good enough. When did that begin? When did that start? Where is that initial ball that we were talking about earlier? Where did this get created? So some different places to explore, depending on your beliefs or your perspective about life. Was it this life? So your sway will give you a yes or a no. Was it a past life or other lifetime? Or for those of you that want to step a little bit more into the world of quantum, other lifetimes, meaning parallel lives, lives that are existing at the moment, or future lives, just to blow your mind. We will be talking about these, and if this resonates for you, we will talk about this actually in another class. Is it in the womb? A lot of our things happen during the 10 months that we're in the womb. It's not 9 months, it's 10 lunar months of full pregnancy. You are literally soaking up everything that your mum felt, thought, experienced, believed. Everything that she was feeling is embodied in you. So often these things might not be your stuff. They might be things that came in the womb. As we go throughout the program, you will learn other questions to ask around when did it begin, like it could be generational patterns. There are so many other places that it can start from. Once you know what the subject is, you'll have some other initiation kind of questions of where did it begin. So using these ones that we've got as an example, if it was this life and your sway says yes to it being this life, what age were you? How old were you when this happened? So, was I younger than 10? Yes. Okay. So was I younger than 5? No. Was I 7? Yes. Okay. So you're 7 years old when this belief was created. So if you think about what was going on in the life of a 7-year-old, they definitely weren't at work. So they might, what happens in the life of a 7-year-old? They might have been going to school. So you could ask, was this something that happened at school? Was this something that happened at a friend's? Was this something that happened at home? You might remember something that happened to you or a significant event in your life at the age of 7. You could ask this way, is it related to this? Is it related to that? Is it related to this thing? So you can, once you've got an age, it then gives you some context for some further questions you can start to explore. And that's what the details are. So was it related to this, to that, to this? You could ask, was it something they said? Was it something somebody did? Was it something I heard? Was it something I believed? So there's some other questions that might help you get clarity. Or you can just simply ask, was it connected to, my friend leaving when I was 7 years old and she moved schools? Or was it connected to me having to stand up in school assembly? Or was it connected to my brother going into hospital? So by finding the age, it gives you some other things to start looking at. And again, you'll become more confident and proficient in these questions the more that you start using EAM. If it was another life or past life, you could ask your sway which one. So was it 1 lifetime ago, 2 lifetimes ago, 3 lifetimes, more than 10 lifetimes ago? Give yourself an idea of what that number was. And we will explore more of this tomorrow as well. So if it was a past life, were you a man? Were you a woman? How old were you? Where did you live? What was going on in your life? So you can ask your sway, was I rich? Was I poor? What country was I living in might give you some clues about what was going on, and it might be related to that particular subject. I'm trying to think what else. So did something happen to me? Might give you a yes or a no. And if it's not you, did something significant happen to someone else I love? Might give you a yes or a no. Again, we'll explore more of these tomorrow, but it's just to give you an idea. You can start asking questions that lead on from the previous question. Now, again, I'll put the caveat on here. I don't want you spending hours and hours and hours digging for stuff, because that isn't where the transformation actually occurs. The transformation occurs when we do step 4. But what this does, it helps us to highlight things which are impacting our energy that we often can't feel because they are connected to the things that sit in those outer layers of our aura, our astral level. If you remember, the astral level is an imprint of things from the other life or other lifetimes in the womb. The imprints can be held anywhere from the womb, or in this lifetime, but maybe when you're much younger and you don't remember or feel anything that happened. Sometimes our childhood memories can be locked away. If it was pregnancy, which month during pregnancy? So was it in the first? You can ask your sway again. Was it the first, second, third, fourth month? Okay. So was it something my mum said? Was it something she did? Was it something she heard? Was it something I just took on board from what was going on? I love, love, love doing the womb work, because so often when we do this in much more depth, I'm not sure if we do this. I'm not sure if we're doing this weekend, actually. I'll have to have a look. A really powerful exercise. We literally go through every single month of the womb and find out how many emotions are there, how many thoughts and beliefs have you picked up that you're carrying still. And we mark it all out on this beautiful grid. And some people have, when their parents are still here, they've gone back and said, Mum, like what was going on in month 7? And they'll be like, oh, so-and-so died, or this happened, or, like some significant event that literally mirrors what you can see laid out with the things that you found out in this way. It's really mind-boggling, really mind-boggling, and beautiful to find out. So remember, you are energy, and our energy system was created at conception. So those first 10 months of your life, you weren't just being influenced by you and everything else around you. You were literally in this wonderful life-giving container that was also living its life experience, and everything your mum was thinking, feeling, doing is imprinted in your energy. So mummies and daddies, don't freak out about anything that you might have done for children or to our children. You can do that. That's a step beyond in terms of going into to do the work on shifting stuff for our kids. This is first all about doing the work on us. So those are 4 of the main ways, and you'll start to learn more of the clarifying questions later on throughout the journey. Anyone got any questions around clarifying questions? Can I clarify? Any questions about clarifying questions for anybody at all? Just get the chat. What a miracle we are. Yes, we are. Can we do, oh, says Susie, I just answered that. Can we do it on our kids' issues if it's in the family and different generations? We will talk much more about that in relationships. Yes, you can do the work on other people. However, an important part of doing the work on other people is that we've done the work on ourselves first. Because we want to make sure that we've cleared everything in our energy system first. So there's a process that we use within EAM where we can energetically step into somebody else's energy field to get a new perspective on what they have going on. However, it's like wearing muddy boots. Imagine you're stepping into someone else's energy field and you're carrying all your fear and your pain and your anger and all of that stuff into someone else's house, and you're walking around their house with your muddy boots on. It's not a very nice thing to do. So we don't teach you how to do this right at the very beginning, and you won't see me teaching this really anywhere publicly until people are a bit further through the journey, because one, you need to do the energy work on yourself, which will open you up, make you more expanded, help you to feel more. Two, particularly when it's people in our life who we really love and we really care about, we often have some vested interest in them creating that change. It might be completely, just that you want their life to be better, but the fact that you want their life to be better means that you have some concerns or beliefs or doubts about their capacity whilst they're going through that stuff. So it's really important that you clear your energy system about them and what you want for them before you step into their energy as well. And even then, before we step into their energy, we always ask if it's the most, if we ask higher consciousness or their higher consciousness, if it's okay and if it's for their highest good, that we're not interfering in a lesson or something that they need to go through, because that's not our stuff to do. So I get it. I really get it. If you've really got other people that you want to share it with, I really invite you to just share EAM with them. Just get them to try it as a little guinea pig test. So that you know when you feel a little bit stressed, particularly kids, like kids love EAM. They absolutely love EAM. They're so ninja at it because their energy is so much quicker, and they can shift things so much more quickly. So just do it with them as a game. Like I've got two little 6-year-olds, and they both like, I don't want to do your magic words, mummy. It doesn't work. I'm like, there are thousands of people who would disagree with you, but let's just play the game anyway. So you can do it with them. Just close your eyes. When you feel anger, like what does it feel like? Is it a hard red ball? Like you can guide them through the process. Teenagers, it's a really powerful tool to be able to share with them. Really powerful tool to be able to share with them. So give them the power to be able to do it for themselves whilst we do the work on ourselves first.